Hello learners, welcome to today's session. In this session, we will be talking about a very important topic, that is desertification. You know, it is synonymous to deserts. You know what are deserts and what are desert ecosystems. What do they contain? And what kind of abiotic and abiotic conditions prevail in these deserts. So, deserts are synonymous with desertification, as the name indicates, but it is something which is being done because of man-made activities. So let us understand what is desertification, what are the different factors which are responsible for this phenomena to take place, and how severe and how important it is to control desertification in today's context. What do we mean by desertification? As I said, it is like creation of desert-like conditions at any place. And you know what are desert-like conditions? That means there are very high temperatures, the wind speed is very high, the soil is sandy in nature, the rainfall is very low, so groundwater also doesn't contain too much of water, so the water table is very down. So this is a general picture of the desert which we have in our minds. So when I say what is desertification, it is, of course, it is like creation of desert-like conditions at any place, which may happen because of the natural phenomena and also because of the man-made activities. But when we say and when we talk in the context of the biological productivity, that means desertification implies loss of biological productivity of land, which leads to desert-like conditions. So we agree to this point that desertification is something creation of deserts by anthropogenic disturbances. But what we mean by creation of deserts is loss of biological productivity of land. Learners, you must understand this point here, that what is the meaning of biological productivity of land? How does land become biological productive? It means that when the biotic components of any ecosystems, for example, the soil microorganisms or the trees or the other living organisms which are dependent upon the forests and other grasslands, when they are not in a position to survive for long, when their population drastically declines, when the conditions of the environment and the surroundings become such that they are not able to carry out their day-to-day activities, they are not able to thrive properly. So that is the reduction in the biological productivity of the land. In a simple language, may I say it like this, that when the trees have been cut down, when the trees are not there, when the deforestation takes place, because of extensive these activities, take for the example, when we cut down the trees of any ecosystems, what is happening? When the trees are not there, the other organisms which are dependent on these forests or the trees, they are also not able to survive. So technically speaking, we call it as the loss of the biological productivity of the land. It is not able to produce, and we may understand this in the context of agriculture also. So, because we will see when we will talk about the causes of desertification, we will see that how agriculture also implies this thing, that there is a reduction in the biological productivity of the land because the yield is not so as it should have been. So, when such circumstances prevail, we call it desertification. There is a UN convention to combat desertification, which is termed as UNCCD. It came out as a part of Agenda 21 declaration, because at that time also it was felt that desertification is equally important concern facing the planet today as the other concerns are there, like that of pollution or biodiversity loss. So the United Nations Convention to combat desertification, it defines desertification as it is a land degradation in arid, semi-arid and dry subhumid areas resulting from various factors including climatic variations and human activities. Learners, there are 2-3 things that we must understand in this definition. First of all, in our previous sessions, we have learnt about land degradation. What are the causes of it? So, particularly when the land degradation, the reduction in the quality of the land occurs in the arid, semi-arid and dry humid areas because of the factors including climatic variations. We also had a session on climate change where we discussed that how climate change leads to changes in the precipitation patterns. So there are more frequent droughts, less rainfall occurring, and these weather extremes, when they continue for a very long period of time on any piece of land which is already arid or which is semi-arid, the ongoing conditions wherein the precipitation is very low, the groundwater recharge is very less, and if it continues for a very longer period of time, it means that the desertification is occurring. So, the land characteristics are very important in desertification because the land has to be arid, semi-arid. And when you talk about the geography of India, you must know that a large part of our country lies in the belt which is in the arid zone, where the rainfall occurs for a few months of the year. And if that pattern is disturbed, if it goes down for a long period of time, there are quite a few chances that the desert-like conditions will come in this area. So one of the factors, as we said, it is the climatic variations which have been aggravated by the climate change phenomena, by burning of the fossil fuels, by changes in the temperature, and so on and so forth. Another important factor, what has been mentioned and clearly emphasized by UNCCD, is human activities. Human activities include mining. Human activities include faulty agricultural practices. They include over-extraction of groundwater, industrialization, urbanization, dumping of the waste, and many more such activities. So when these activities are happening at a piece of land which is already lies in the belt of arid region, that phenomena is known as desertification. So these are some of the facts before you. According to the Desertification and Land Atlas of India during 2018 and 19, some 97.85 million hectares of India's geographical area, which is 328.72 million hectares, underwent land degradation. You know, we have 2% of the land area of the world, but we support more than 17% of the world population. When you look at the share of the grazing lands, that also we have very less in number as compared to the cattle population that we are having in our country. Where does this cattle feed? Where does this graze? Because we already have a scarce land resource. We have very less land which is devoted for the grazing lands. And according to the Desertification Land Atlas, the situation is really grim because land is a limited resource. It doesn't increase in its size over years. But what does increase is the population increases, our requirements increases, the cattle population keeps on increasing, but we do not have any land to fulfill their needs. So the pressure comes on the other ecosystems. There is denudation of forests and extension of the areas for other activities, and in the long term, it increases the extent of desertification. By this, UN 2006 was declared as the International Year to Combat Desertification. In 2019, we held the conference of UN COP14 where desertification was the highlight and where it was discussed at length that how desertification problem of India can be mitigated. So let us explore one by one what are the factors responsible for desertification. We are an agricultural country. Most of the land which we have in our country, we want to bring it under agriculture because we have increase in population, we have more mouths to feed. But the manner in which the agriculture is practiced, that determines the sustainability of the land for that purpose. Let me take you to the situation in 1960s when Green Revolution was ushered in. At that time, it was considered to be, yes, where it revolutionized the agriculture, we were able to increase the yield of our crops. But over a long period of time, if we rely too much on the chemical fertilizers, on the pesticides, on modern means of agriculture, we also have to think that is it sustainable in the long run. So if you explore the manner in which the agriculture is practiced, which has become more of commercial in nature, which is more of an industrial agriculture, where we are emphasizing too much on mass production instead of production by masses. It is just like an industry, any other industry, where our motto is to produce more. But we have forgotten the fact that how sustainable the produce will be. What is the quality of the crops that we are delivering, that we are producing, that we are cultivating? We have to check that. So, because of the unsustainable agricultural practices, which include use of chemical fertilizers in agriculture, plantation of the crops which are water intensive at the places where water scarcity is already there, going for monocropping, over extraction of the groundwater, small land holdings. These are some of the agricultural practices which do not go well with the land of that area. They may increase the production, they may prosper the farmers, but in the long run, it is not good for the soil, it is not good for the overall health of the ecosystems. And in due course of time, we have seen that how the condition in some villages of the Punjab, Rajasthan, they are struggling because of the desertification problem, which is increasing every year. Another factor is unsustainable water management practices. How do we manage the water? Water is a resource which is not only important for the economy, but it is the basic for our survival. From where do we obtain water? One of the major sources is the groundwater, which we have been over extracting for meeting the needs of the population, not only for the consumptive needs for drinking, but also for the industries, for agriculture. Water is seen as something which improves our living. But how do you manage that water? Because it is there in the aquifers. Rainfall is the only source of water on this planet. So, are we ensuring that we are getting ample amount of water as it is required by the population? What we are doing is that we are over extracting, we are wasting, and because of this phenomena, the rivers have dried up, the traditional wells have dried up, and most of the times in the same place, there are floods in one season and there are droughts in the another season. The same place. It shows that we are not able to manage the water properly. So, water management should rely on lot of factors. What is your policy? What is your water conservation methods? What kind of agricultural practices are being followed? So, because of the manner in which we are managing our water resources, that also in a way is leading to the desert-like conditions, because as I said, we are relying too much on underground water. We are extracting, we are digging down, we are obtaining the water, we are wasting water in agriculture also because of extensive subsidies given for groundwater extraction. So there is so much. Another is conversion of land for other uses. Other uses means, yes, for construction purposes, for setting up of the industries, for building of roads, for building of other infrastructure, because when we say development, development is mostly seen in terms of what is the visible output. Development means what visible infrastructure you are seeing. So when we devote land for other purposes, that is also leading to the cause of desertification in the long run. Then, as I said, deforestation and loss of vegetative cover. The trees are being cut down on the hills, on the plains, because of the needs that we have. Because of the needs, yes, agriculture also, we need more land to be brought under agriculture to feed the population. We need to create spaces where the population can reside, industries. So because of so many factors, the trees have been cut down, and because of the cutting down of the trees, the soil is let loose. Over a period of time, the soil gets washed away by the action of water, wind and other factors, and desert-like conditions, they keep on increasing, because in nature, everything, every phenomena, every activity is connected with each other. So when we say the trees are being cut down, that means there will be soil erosion. the sediment deposition in the water bodies. It will lead to floods if the rainfall exceeds a little amount. Because of that floods, again the land quality will degrade, and in due course of time it may happen that the whole geography of that place changes and the region suffers from desert-like conditions. Then industrialization, mining activities, you must have seen at the roadside that how the beauty of the natural landscape has been destroyed, because when we see a lot of industries coming up, lot of manufacturing being being done, mining activities, we mine a mineral at a certain place, we abandon that place because now that land is not suitable for agriculture because of the dumping of waste and the tailings and the other things. So all these factors contribute, because we have to check that how we are managing the land. That is very important. Demographic factors, as I said, not only the population increase, but how the population lives, the affluence of the people, the settlements, the different types of the construction works that goes on, the connectivity that we want between our towns and cities. So the villages convert into cities, cities convert into metropolitan cities, and then the whole landscape changes, and in the due course of time you find that the region suffers from water scarcity. Now we do not have water. We have day zero, we have seen in Shimla, like city, which is the tourist hotspot. Every year it receives some 20 million tourists, which is 10 times the population of that city. And this high influx of the tourists, it puts a pressure on the water resources. So these are some of the demographic factors which are responsible. We are responsible, I should say. Our activities, our management of the lands and other ecosystems, the cities, the way we are planning our cities, and so on. And the climate change phenomena. Yes, because of the burning of the fossil fuels, there is increase in temperature. Increase in temperature means now we have to have more groundwater extraction. We need to put in different types of mechanisms to fight against the climate change. And the whole terrain gets a different shape, gets a different structure in the long course of time. So learners, you must understand that yes, these factors are very much important, but it takes years. If this type of conditions prevail over a very, very long period of time, then yes, you will notice that the region suffers from desertification. And desertification, as I said in the beginning, it is the loss of the biological productivity of the land. So land is barren, in some other words we can say. It is not suitable for agriculture. It doesn't have any water. It doesn't have any moisture. It doesn't have any organisms which are thriving on it. So this is a very serious problem we must think about. So when I say how does it proceed, how desertification takes place? So these are some of the factors, the main factors which do all this. But what do they do will come under the process of desertification. So in all the factors, you will find that the soil is let loose. The soil particles are held away from each other because of the agriculture practices which are not suitable. The tractors and with the help of machinery, when we do the tilling and all, the soil particles are left apart. They are easy to be washed away by the action of water, wind or other biological agents. So soil erosion takes place. First of all, the soil, it's moved away. This may happen because of wind erosion, high speed winds. The speed of wind is high because again there is no vegetative cover. Speed of the wind also takes away the smaller plants, the flora at that particular place. Then water erosion occurs because of flash floods, because of whenever there are kind of events, for example, some tsunamis, or in the coastal areas, you find such things. So in all these factors, whether it is water erosion or wind erosion, actually the soil, the nature of the soil, it changes, it is moved away. And it takes millions of years to form an inch of soil. That also you must remember. And soil alkalinity, acidity and salinity. When we over irrigate our fields, and there is a high content of gypsum, other minerals, then you must understand this thing that because of over irrigation and then these type of events taking place, whether it is wind or water erosion, so these are taken away, and what is left behind is the minerals. You can very well see, and you must be knowing about the Indira Gandhi Canal in Rajasthan, where because of over irrigation, the soil today is very, very alkaline. It contains too much of the salts because of the aquifers which are rich in these minerals. And it also is caused by the phenomena called water logging, where we have lot of water in the soils. And this water actually it removes the air particles. The soil is not able to breathe properly. And the water content which it's not good. When too much of the water content is there in the soil, it doesn't support the vegetation. So this is all mismanagement, you can say, because we are not taking into account the terrain, the climate, the location of the place, the weather condition of that place, and we are making such measures that how we can obtain the water. So in the long run, all these factors are responsible for the process of desertification. So with this, we conclude this session that desertification is referred to as long-term failure to balance the demand and supply of ecosystem services in dry lands, and human activities and climate change related factors are responsible for the fast rate of desertification today. Thank you so much.